Oh crap face.jpg. The DM excused himself for a few minutes, comes back and tries to nope that usage, contradicting his earlier lore greatly by saying my class doesn't do that. Party calls him out on that. Tries to say I can't summon Ruby for various reasons, mostly around my backstory and the power of the new spell. Party backs me up when I say, you approved my backstory when I made this character, you approved the spell when I made it. Deal with it. Hey, what's up everybody, SkyDieRay here. Welcome to another D&D Greentext story. This one's pretty long, so buckle up. I think it was a great story. I hope you enjoy watching this video and hearing the story as much as I did reading it. And yeah, with that being said, enjoy the video. When your backstory makes a worthless sounding spell game-breaking, karma strikes a bad DM. Sorry, I think I had a stroke reading that title. What? I guess we'll find out. Bimi, playing a variation of an OC I made for a fanfic. She was originally the Empress of a Dragon Empire. Not Dragonborn, Dragon. Before being cursed into a human form and losing most of her powers as she ran from the destruction of the Empire via a carefully engineered natural disaster some 60,000 years ago. Long story. Now an enchantress, basically getting through everything by seducing random beings, sometimes the opponents, and turning them into slaves. Still a 60,000-year-old virgin though. Trap-filled maze? Charm a horde of rats and send them out like minesweepers. Enemy encounter with a necromancer? Seduce the skeletons. Did the latter work? No, but those rats swarmed over the skeletons pretty well. Be not me, the rest of the party. A bunch of criminals, fugitives, and most of them being at least somewhat murder hobo-ish. Be not me, the DM. In a nutshell, he was a giant asshole, trying to kill the party at every turn, often succeeding in killing one or two of us per major encounter, and occasionally one of us would die to the random minor ones along the way. Pretty good with improvising the campaign and letting us do what we wanted though, so we were okay with it for the most part. At least we put up with it. Be us as a whole. After killing a necromancer who was trying to become a lich through very bloody means, we raid his treasury. Find 3 scrolls of Make a New Spell. It's the last dungeon before the big bad evil guy's massive castle, so it's not like we had a reason to hold on to them until later. First scroll goes to the healer, who tries to make an OP healing spell. Healer dies, shriveled up into a husk, as the scroll drains his lifespan in order to modify the rules of the world. Yeah, screw you DM, could have warned us when we got the natural 15 and the 17, both over 20 with bonuses, while checking it over. Don't remember which roles specifically, but they made sense as something that would have given us that info. Second scroll goes to the Warlock, who uses it to make a very simple cantripish power level spell. Doesn't die, but goes from teenager to old man in an instant. So much for the natural 19 roll we did after the first one killed the healer, saying that a weak spell will only drain a few years. Guess it makes sense why the necromancer wanted to become an undead before using the scrolls. Try investigating the last one. Natural 20. And now we learned that the more specific the use case, the more restrictions and less versatility, the more likely it is to work without killing the user. Also learned that it doesn't care about what kind of magic it uses to make it work. Creating fire is no different from creating a spatial tear if the destructive power is the same, and assuming both are only able to be used offensively. Wait, I'm a dragon with a royal bloodline, so I have a, for all intents and purposes, basically infinite lifespan. Let me try the last one, I say. Okay, says the rest of the party. I made a simple sounding spell with a lot of restrictions to nerf it further, just in case. Summon Servant, it's called, and it does exactly that. Anyone who is completely, and I mean 110% subservient to me, either oathbound or charmed or whatever, can be pulled from anywhere in the world to my side for up to 24 hours, after which they go back to where they were summoned from. Gains 1 charge per long rest, up to a maximum of 4. It worked. DM was like, so basically, you can pull the macho man from town to fight for you. Got it. Sounds fine, have your spell. We were mad at him for killing half the party for the only reward to be another dead party member. One we got screwed over by a natural 19 check, but got another cantrip, and 1 scroll to make another useless spell. So, after using the scroll, okay, I cast Summon Servant. Who do you summon? Ruby. Who? the Crimson Dragon, who served as my personal guard, oathbound to serve me specifically, unlike the rest of the royal guards, who are oathbound to serve the royal bloodline, should still be alive, based off of what I can feel of the oath magic tying her to me. Sensing the status of those overly loyal to me is part of my class, after all. Oh, face.jpg. The DM excused himself for a few minutes, comes back, and tries to nope that usage, contradicting his earlier lore greatly by saying my class doesn't do that. Party calls him out on that, tries to say I can't summon Ruby for various reasons, mostly around my backstory and the power of the new spell. Party backs me up when I say, you approved my backstory when I made this character, you approved the spell when I made it, deal with it. Fast forward a few weeks, both IRL and in-game. I and my party are on a dragon's back as we're flying to the big bad evil guy's castle. Meet up with a bunch of more dragons along the way, because I kept summoning new ones every chance I got, telling them to meet me there on the night after the double full moon. Just because they teleported back after 24 hours doesn't mean they don't remember my orders and can't make their way to me on their own time, after all. Big bad evil guy dies when his castle is raised by close to 100 dragons that showed up out of nowhere. Campaign ended. Good riddance to a bad DM. Don't kill people for not getting a natural 20 when investigating loot. Your players will stop giving a hoot about your feelings. Sounds like the DM f***ed up by allowing a character who's an immortal dragon with tens of thousands of years of life experience in the first place. Surprised it took him that long to use that backstory to game the campaign, to be honest. The mere fact that he allowed that character in the first place makes me wonder whether he was really as ish a DM as OP describes, or just a somewhat new one who responded to overpowered character f***ery by players with DM f***ery. My god, everyone sucks here. What a nightmare of a group. Alright, clear up time. Edit. Seeing the comments after I woke up, I suppose I should clear up a few things. First, my backstory was literally just there because I felt like it. Up until that point, the only thing it gave me was a few proficiencies in things like history, diplomacy, and some extra languages I could use. I might have lived for 60,000 years, but I didn't become OP because of it. It was originally just there for fun. I would never have made it play a role in the campaign beyond, oh yeah, I know about that, I was there, had the DM not screwed us over so hard. As such, reading the fanfic was absolutely not needed, nor was it possible at that point, as it was very much in the pre-rough draft stage. It was not an all eyes on me main character type of backstory. It was simply me making one for fun with no expectation that it would affect anything, because basically everything talked about happened several dozen millennia in the past. The DM actually made it play a role more often than I did. Second, this was not a new DM. This was a bad one. He'd been DMing for about a decade at that point. Going into the campaign, we'd heard that he liked making it hard for his players, but we had not heard he did it so maliciously. However, when we were 2 months and 8 character deaths in, I went and asked one of the previous players, who said, yeah, that sounds about right. It's nice if you're wanting to experiment with different classes and builds, but it can be a bit annoying otherwise. So he had a history of doing his damnedest to kill off the PCs at every turn. Third, regarding the murder hobos and saying that we were bullying the DM with that, remember that we were playing a bunch of criminals. We were asked to build PCs who lived on the darker side of the line in session 0. We also grew more murder hobo-y as we interacted with the NPCs that, among other things, killed us as we slept in their inn, because we had bounties on our heads that we didn't know had been passed on from country A, where we committed the crimes years earlier, through B and C to country D, on the other side of the continent, where we were killed in the inn of some tiny town that, realistically speaking, would not have heard about relatively small-time criminals in another country. If you're worried about being stabbed in the back by everyone who passes you in the street, you're more likely to stab people yourself. Fourth, about my post-history being a lot of these kinds of stories, well, yes, I've got a lot of stories where people do things that are unexpected and the rest roll with it, but I've got way more campaigns where nothing of the sort happens. Excluding one-shots and other ones lasting under a month or two, I've played in about 20 to 30 campaigns and about 15 DMs. Often, I had 3 or 4 going on at the same time, as most of them lasted anywhere from 4 months to 2 years of weekly-ish sessions. You play enough, you get a decent number of stories. And I generally looked for DMs and other players who liked the players being creative and shaping the plot, making use of the homebrew mechanics in interesting ways, and generally just rolling with whatever as long as it's not game breaking. If you want to use a mimic as a weapon, have fun with that. Just make sure to keep it fed. I ought to talk about that story in another post, now that I think of it. It was hilarious. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't already. Also turn the notifications on. Also, thank you to everyone supporting the channel on Patreon. Really appreciate it, guys, so thank you to everyone supporting there. Links below if you want to check that out, or the Discord, subreddit, other social media. Follow me on Instagram. And yeah, that's it. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, bye!